So, welcome to another episode of the Jobs for Women podcast. I'm really excited. It's my go to line, but I am. We have Claire Hill on the podcast this week. Claire is a self belief coach and Vivid Business Club owner, as well as host of No Rest for the Vivid, I nearly said Wicked, podcast. Welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me, Zoe. Lovely to be here.
Oh, good. We have just so everyone listening, have just recorded a podcast for Claire's podcast. Yeah. So we're in full flow, aren't we? So we're
we've been so efficient. Like it's wonderful.
So tell me, I am intrigued. By the way, I love the title of your podcast. What a name. Mine's a little bit more basic. Jobs for Women, does what it says on the tin. Yes. Talk to me. First of all, self-belief coach. What does a self-belief coach do?
Teaches you to believe in yourself and to see what's possible, believe what that is possible, and then make the magic happen. So it all comes down to, do you want me to go into the details?
I'd love it because I need a bit of this.
Okay, so I had the long and short of it is that I had quite a traumatic childhood. I don't have the same kind of family unit as you get in the storybooks. And it was really tough. And then I sort of built my career, always ended up helping people, though I was always creative as a child. But my father passed away. And so I had to just stop creating. And then I became a young carer for my mum. And there was 4 kids. And we had no money, etc. It's not a nice story. But it was all good in the end because what I learned was sort of, I suppose, how to look after people. So I went into working with adults with learning disabilities, went into working with homeless families and individuals. Then I became a teacher a bit late. I was 27 when I became a teacher and became an assistant head working with the vulnerable students, working with the students that had free school meals. And I my focus was on attendance. And when you're in charge of attendance in a school, there's so many complex issues why a child's not coming to school. So I did all that. And then through all of that work, I was always helping people to become brilliant versions of themselves, like the best versions of themselves. So I started working with adults with learning disabilities when I was 16. So that was like 20 odd years. So it's like 23 years since I started that work. And it's just it was always about you see yourself as one way, but I can see some magic in you. Let's make you see that and believe that you are magic. And that's been, all the way through. And then, but I recognize that I sort of taught myself how to believe in myself because it's not an easy thing to do. It doesn't come naturally, especially if you've had a traumatic childhood and, your family's a bit wonky, for want of a better word. You don't have the same foundation. So I didn't have those foundations. And I sort of worked out a way, not really realizing I was doing it at the time, of how to believe in myself. So then when I was on maternity leave with my son, I started Vivid Wire, though I'd had a creative business before that. So I was a wire artist, started making lots of things, had it on the down low and people just kept buying it and it started to really grow. And then I'd been doing it for about 15 months and I was earning as much as I was as an assistant head. And I was like, well, I'm going to leave because, on the podcast, we were just talking about how me being an assistant head and I'd worked really, really hard and they'd sort of forgotten that I had existed and all that hard work when I went on maternity leave. And so while I then left the education, was working on the business, it just grew and grew. And people started going to me, oh, how do you grow your business? How do you do it? How this, that, and the other? And I went through quite a low period because when you go from working with people all of the time to like nobody, especially if you leave like an institutional career like teaching, I knew exactly where I had to be every single time. Like there was pips that would tell me where to go or when to go somewhere because I worked in a secondary school. So it was a massive crash. I had a big crash and I was like, this is not who I am. I don't know who I am anymore. And I'd lost all my self-belief and the doubt in my head was just so loud, but I didn't know how to sort myself out. So I just tried a few things and taught myself again how to build that out. And then about a year later, people were asking me, how do you stay positive and grow your business? Then I started coaching and mentoring, and then the business club was born. And now that's what I focus on, just self-belief. So powering up your self-belief and dimming down your doubt. We talk about it all day.
Wow, that's what a journey you've been on. Did you, when you decided to leave teaching, that must have been a huge decision. Did you go back after having your child
Yeah, I went
for
back
a
for a
bit?
year. For a year.
Oh,
Went back
wow.
full time for a year.
How
I
was
was
that?
well, I was an so it's going back to like leaning into the fact that we think that we can do everything, or that we should do everything. And I was actually doing a master's degree as well. So I went back to work full time, 5 days a week. I was still breastfeeding Jackson the first 2 months that I was doing that, feeding night in the morning. I was doing my master's degree, and I was running Vivid Wire. So I would get up at like really early in the morning and make orders before I went to school. Then I'd come home and make. I don't know how. Well, I almost almost really burnt out, and then COVID happened. So there was a bit of a lull. Like, even though I was key worker, I still had to work. And then because I was part of the leadership team, I did have to go into school to help with the children that were from key worker families. And then we had year 10 and year 12 come back, so I had to go and deliver teaching as well. But you get to that, like I don't know how I did it. Like, I just don't know. I don't know whether it's because I was younger, but it's only like 3 years ago. So it wasn't like.
It's funny though, isn't it? I think we recorded an episode on burnout, and sometimes it just sneaks up on you and you just keep going. And, we talked on your podcast, didn't we, about listening to gut instinct. And I think it's recognizing the body and what it's telling you,
Yeah.
before you have that burnout. So, wow. Did you miss teaching when you left?
Well, I still teach now,
Yeah,
really.
of
So I teach
course.
courses and stuff. So I don't, and I teach wire art as well. So I do a lot of teaching, and I love teaching. I'm even going to do even more in the new year. Um, I miss teaching maths, because I did teach health and social care and maths. So I do miss teaching maths, but I think, and I do miss kids, because there's so much joy and, there's so much humour. But what I feel that I get now is that I'm supporting people that are, and I predominantly help women that have families, and the men that I support have families too. But that culture of how you believe in yourself and reframing, so that you have a more hopeful look on life, and it just helps make life easier. That is then taught to their children. So it's just creating that culture. Like, we're part of the Vivid Business Club. We have a WhatsApp group called Bank the Wins, and it's all about banking the tiny things. So, you'll have a lovely hot cup of coffee and you're like, oh, I'm banking this hot coffee. And the more that you see how fantastic life is, really, like how wonderful we're having this conversation, the sun is shining here. It's going to be Christmas soon. I live and breathe gratitude, which means that I see more good things. So my son Jackson, I'm like, oh, we've got a car parking space. And he's like, yes, we've got a car parking space. Thank you, more please. And I'm like, and that's the thing, like, we say thank you, and then you can receive more gratitude if you're seeing the big wins. And I think, going back to how I was feeling before I left teaching, I just cried a lot. I was deeply unhappy, deeply, deeply unhappy. I didn't realize how unhappy I was until afterwards, because I wasn't doing what I was born to do. Luckily, and again, feel really grateful that I'm doing what I was born to do. I even actually had a human design astrology reading like last week,
Phew.
and she actually knows what I do, but she was like, I've never had someone's reading be exactly what they do. So I was literally born to do this. It's
That is
crazy.
incredible. I do
Yeah.
feel like a lot of the women in our community, and I think now more than ever, we're definitely changing things up more. Like back in the day, it was a career for 40 years and you stuck to the same thing.
Mm,
But I think we're definitely shaking things up. Like, I know that there's women that work full time in our community that have got little side hustles. And I'm all about, like, if you've got something bubbling up inside, just try it. So just coming back to the whole self-belief idea, if someone is listening and they just feel like they have no self-belief, how do they recognize that? How do you know if you've got it, you don't have it?
Well, you'll be having lots of doubt thoughts, like imposter syndrome, that kind of thing. So your thoughts will be quite negative about yourself. Like you may use language like "I can't do that," or I just I'm not good enough, or I'm not worthy of whatever. So you have to watch what you're saying to yourself. So the first part of any kind of self belief and doubt work is always about recognizing those thoughts in your head and distinguishing them from the thoughts that are you. And at first, there is like a messy muddle. Like it's not, there's no clarity in that. So the way I teach it is we name those thoughts. So mine is called Clara, and she's a bastard. She is an absolute turd. Um, and and it's okay. I recognise that she's part of me, and that's the thing. We can't push these doubts down because they're actually you can learn because even though Clara's a bit of a turd, she's not my best friend. She's actually like an annoying sister. That's what she is. She's a really annoying sister like when you're younger. And she just takes a piss all the time.
I
Like
love that you give her a name. That is
yeah,
genius. So
yeah,
simple
it's
but effective.
so simple. So everybody in the Vivid Business Club has a name for their, imposter syndrome or those doubt thoughts. Everyone has a name for theirs. So when they're saying, like, there's one member who she's an artist and she's only just really stepped into her role as an artist. She's amazing, by the way, right? But she's been making home decor, which is again beautiful, but it's not what she's been born to do. So when I was working with her first, I was like, let's lean into this. Like, what's your gut instinct telling you that you want to do? She was like, I want to make art. I've got it in my head. I'm like, right, you know what you got to do. But because it's not selling as well as she wants it to yet,
Yeah.
she is doubting herself. And then she's like, oh, Gladys is being horrible to me today. She's being really like, she'll call hers Gladys. But what we do is we realize that there's no sufficient evidence to support, what Clara says to me. The reason why I can go, oh, there's just doubt there. I can distinguish it is because there's no evidence when I really pull it apart. So that's where that voice can become, or those thoughts can become your best friend. So when she's going off on one, I'm like, right, let's listen to this for a minute. Okay, what are you telling me? So it might be that, say I'm doubting whether I'm a good coach, for example, or whether I am good at running the View Business Club. I will sit and go, right, why is it that doubt is coming up? What is it saying specifically? So one of the things that there's been playing on my mind with the Vivid Business Club is that there was a couple of issues with the website because I build my own websites at the moment. I need some help with that eventually. If anyone's listening can help. So I said to myself, so why do I feel that I'm not doing a good enough job? What are the areas? Wrote them down, and then I created a plan to tackle those things instead of wasting any more energy doubting myself about it. Let's just tackle them head on. I was putting it off for ages. It took me 25 minutes to do these tweaks because sometimes the things that we put off, they cost more energy in them sitting there than they do in actually doing the job. So I did them. I'm like, well, actually, I'm quite proud of that website now. And then that doubt was put to the side. So there'll be some, as you're pushing through your career, your business, every level there is another devil. It's so true. And I always use the analogy of climbing a cliff, like Mount Everest, you have base camp 1. So you get to base camp 1 and you're like, this is pretty sweet. I've done all right so far. I've got up there. Use a certain set of tools to get there. Fantastic. View's all right. But maybe if I go a bit higher, view might get a bit better. Okay, do I need some more tools? All right, so I do. Because it's going to be a steeper climb, you need more things around you because doubt is going to get louder. So you need more self-belief to power you up that steep cliff. You get to the next, I'm guessing it's base camp 2. I don't know, maybe they've got names. Anyway, you go, oh, the view's even better. But you've got another steep climb. So when we are climbing, we're constantly using the resources around us. And if you get to a certain level and you're looking around thinking, oh, I don't know if I can believe I can get to the next level. Number one, it's got to be small steps. Like anything too overwhelming is too much for our self-belief, and gives more room for the doubt to creep in. But also just recognizing that the same tools that are going to get you to that base camp are not going to get you all the time. Like you have to tweak them. So it's something that I work on daily, my self-belief, every single day, to the every single minute, really, because of all the language that I use. I can never say I can't. Well, unless I'm saying I can't do that yet. I will say, oh, I'm finding something challenging. I won't say that I'm struggling. Failure is impossible because there's only winning and learning. There's no anything that I've made a mistake or something that I've not learned and actually really boosted myself or my career or my business in a certain way. So failure just basically doesn't exist. And I sort of remind myself all the things. Another one is like, I don't need anything, I want it. Like one of those things, when we really put it down to basics and say, what do we actually need? We need water, we need oxygen, we need shelter, and we need food. Like that's how we stay alive. Anything else is a bonus. And as soon as you're like, oh, I don't need that, like I could sit in a one bed sit flat, I would survive. I think as well, I'm going all over the place a little bit, but there was this thing recently, about having no money. Like I haven't got any money. You do, but you prioritize spending it on other things. I prioritize paying for my mortgage to live in this house because I choose to live here. So I do have money. If I haven't got money to like go out on the lash or buy a bag or whatever I want to do, then it's not because I haven't got the money. I'm prioritizing using it. So we can create a little bit more autonomy in our lives and go, I'm actually in control of a lot more than I believe to be. And that links as well to environmental mastery because you can control the environment around you. Therefore, you're like, okay, I believe I can change things. The biggest key to self-belief, though, is self-trust. When my clients come to me, I say, right, do you snooze the alarm? And they're like, yeah. I'm like, okay, so you said to yourself that you were going to get up at 6 o'clock tomorrow morning and you broke that promise to yourself. The first thing you set yourself up for the day, you broke that promise for yourself. So if you can't keep that promise for yourself and you can't get up when you say you want to get up, how are you ever going to get your goals? It's the most simple the thing that you can trust yourself to do, you're not doing. And they're like, what? Oh my God. One, is obviously snoozing increases cortisol, which is another story. But straight away, it's these little promises that we make to ourselves and go, nah, I can't be bothered. Nobody's going to check up on me. I've snoozed my whole life, doesn't matter. And then but it's layering those tiny things on top of each other. And that's where the self-belief grows.
I love everything that you've just said. And the little tiny habits, that snooze. I did a snooze. I did a gym class this morning and I hit the snooze button and went back into this weird deep sleep. And then I was like, and I didn't know what was going on when it came. But that's great advice, isn't it? Just tiny little changes that when they're stacked on top of each other can make huge instrumental changes in someone's life. So when it's coming to the doubt, if someone's listening and because I loved your website example, that it's like it's becoming this big thing in your head and then actually like let's write out what it is and then let's take action. And it doesn't need to be action immediately, but just the very fact of writing something out, that for me is huge. And just having a plan of action. If someone is having self-doubt that's listening and they don't really know which way to go or they don't know what action to take, what should they do?
I would the first thing, like going back to writing, brain dump, like really get everything out of your head because brains are not there to remember, they're there to think. You cannot get any clarity if you're trying to remember 100 things. So it needs to be written out and keep writing. The bigger the page, the more open your brain goes. If you've got any flip chart paper, that's really good. But if not, do minimum A4. So you just drop all of your brain, all of your doubts, whether that's a list or it's just in, paragraphs talking about your doubts. And that really helps because as soon as it goes to paper, it becomes real. And then you can question whether it's real. Not that there's ever any evidence. So I'll share an example with you, which is it's quite, I'm going to be vulnerable, but it's a really good example. So on Saturday, I went out with my girlfriends. I've known them for 20 odd years. We're best mates. And we went to this really fancy brunch place in Angel in London. It's really cool. And, the gins were flowing. It was fantastic. Felt really, really good. Next day, I'd probably drunk more than I have done in years. I wasn't hungover, but I woke up, I saw one picture of myself and was like, God, look how ugly I look. It's so ridiculous. So ridiculous. Now, there's no like ugly doesn't even exist, let's be honest, unless they're an ugly person in their thoughts and in their heart, right? I'm definitely not one of that. Beauty comes from more than your face. It comes from your soul and your actions and how you help people and the love you give to the world, right? So there's no way that I'm ugly, but that voice was going, oh, blah, blah, blah. That doubt was horrific to the point where it hurts. So sometimes we're having so much doubt, it actually physically hurts us. So what I did was felt the feelings. So I had a good cry. I didn't hide my crying or anything like that. I was just like, I am feeling really low today. And that's okay because feelings are supposed to be felt. What I've learned from this though is I cannot spend a whole day drinking gin anymore. Like, what am I thinking? Like, it's not healthy. I just did it, I can't do it. No way. I'm not doing that ever again. I'm going to have 3 drinks max forever and ever and ever. But I also learned that I had that reframe. I was able to go, right, what is beauty? So because I was calling myself ugly, that doubt was saying that I was ugly, I then went, yeah, but what does ugly mean? So I looked at those doubts and really pulled them apart. I really overanalyzed them to the point where there's no evidence to support this. And as soon as you then don't find any evidence, I was like, oh, okay. And then there's like the rescue remedy. The rescue remedy, I always think about this. It's like a 3-pronged effect. Like if you're starting a fire, you need heat, oxygen, and fuel. So the heat will be kindness to yourself. So I was just kind and patient with myself. Didn't judge myself. I was just like, look, you had a great time. You're suffering now. You've learned from it. All right. Just, So I sort of warm myself up with that kindness. The fuel is who I am and what I know about myself. So I've got like a few exercises that I do. Either I will meditate for 5 minutes or like minimum, or I will listen to some of my favorite songs that remember who I am, or just journaling, like a good 3 A4 sides of morning pages. That's what comes from a book called Julia Cameron's The Artist's Way. No, The Artist's Way by Julia Cameron. So I will just connect back to who I am and my anchor. And then the oxygen is just, no, hold on. Oxygen is that bit. And then the heat is me just going, right, what makes me feel good? I've lost the train because I've just gone off one. Basically, it's fuel, oxygen, and heat. Then I do the kindness, anchor myself to me, and do something that I love to do. And usually it's a cup of tea, and I get into bed. But like it's not you when you're facing those doubts. Sometimes we feel so inadequate when actually we're just human beings with feelings. We
Yeah.
have to give permission to ourselves to go, well, I'm putting myself out there quite a lot. I work really, really hard. I'm probably tired. Let's just, if we were looking at our children like that, when I look at my son Jackson, I just think you probably just need a cuddle, babe. Come on, let's have a cuddle and watch the TV.
That's so
Snuggle
funny
up.
that you said that. I said that to my son the other day because he plays in a football academy and he just looked proper knackered. And I said, come here, come to Big Mama and let's have a cuddle. He just needed
Yeah.
that support. And we shell that kindness out to other people, but I just don't think we give it to ourselves as much. So hearing you talk is eye-opening for me, and I think people listening will be like, oh wow, I'm definitely too hard on myself. I remember in my early career making a mistake at work. I worked in PR, and it was like a competition we were running, like a promotion with a brand, and it was like to do with music. I can't remember which movie it was, and they picked a winner, and then the winner didn't come through, and then the company just decided to pick another winner. And basically then all the comments online started saying, well, how did you pick this winner? And it was one of those just rash decisions, nothing crazy, nothing bad. I beat myself up. I remember I cried all the way home, cried in the office, beat myself up. And if I'd have known what I know now and hearing you talk, that could have been a completely different experience for me. But I really struggled after that with confidence at work, and
Yeah.
I just held it. I didn't let myself just be human and make a mistake. And I loved what you were saying earlier when you were talking about there isn't like failure and learning. That was it. There's winning and there's learning. That is so simple.
Yeah, because then you'll never fail, will you? Like, when you pitch yourself to people, like you pitch yourself to podcasts and getting people on, and if they say no, you just go, oh, okay. instead of, oh, I must mean I'm so crap at this, you know.
Yeah.
But when you were just talking, the doubt came in my head because I'm like, maybe I'm not a good, I don't know what I'm talking about because I didn't tell exactly my rescue remedy off the hat. It's because as you create so many resources, I can't remember exactly. So then straight away, I'm like, yeah, but what I could do is create a resource, give it to you. You can share it in the links to the show notes. People can access it for ages. If I didn't have that doubt, that the rescue remedy, I didn't say my rescue remedy formula exactly right, I wouldn't have thought to create a resource that could then help more people. So then it's like,
Mhm.
well, the doubts helped me out. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
that's
So when you reframe and go backwards, and that's just literally happened as I was listening to you about what was going on with the marketing when
yeah,
you were at work. So it, doubts, though they hurt, doesn't mean that that pain is a horrible pain. It's just a growing pain. It is
yeah.
literally us growing, and it's about recognizing how far out, how much you've got to experience to get to where you want to be, and and it's also honoring the fact that it hurts. But nobody, I think, unless they push themselves, understands that pain. It's like I'm trying to think. It's like a tattoo pain. Like, have you got any tattoos?
Yeah. Right.
Or childbirth.
Oh,
It's a
that old
good
chestnut.
pain.
Oh, whatever. Yeah, so you can almost turn it into a positive and an advantage, can't you? So it's
Yeah.
kind of like stick with it. I loved your example as well when you were like, I let myself have a good cry. I don't
Yeah.
think people do this enough because energy, feel it. You are not that emotion, just let it flow through your body. And as
Yeah.
women, especially with our cycles, sometimes we just need to have a massive cry.
And hormones aren't always, they're released in our sweat as well as our tears. So if you've got a buildup of cortisol because you're stressed out or anxious, or you've got adrenaline in your system, you need to get rid of those hormones. And one of the ways the body does it is through your tears. So it's literally what we're supposed to do as human beings to get those hormones out and like cleanse us.
Yeah, I
It's,
love that. I love
yeah.
that idea. So before we wrap up, tell us about the Vivid Business Club. Who's in it? What are they learning? What are you doing with them? Can I join?
Yes, you can. Well, I've got a free trial at the moment, 14 days free trial. The doors are open. I don't open the doors very often because I meet all of the new members when they come in because I like to learn about people's businesses and then tweak the membership to make sure it serves as many people as possible. It's all about ambitious women. So ambitious women that run their own businesses or lead they're in leadership positions where they just want more from life, but they may be doubting themselves and need a little bit of support in powering up their self-belief, as well as if they're learning, if they run their own business, how to do it. But I teach that through warrior energy. So that's how I teach about the energy that you can create for yourself to feel more motivated every day. And that's about stretching your capacity so you can take more on in regards to stress. So if I'm working on my warrior energy, my son being a bit of an idiot, trying to get him out of the door to go to school, like won't put his shoes on, that kind of thing. I have so much more capacity for that. And we still walk out smiling. But if I don't have that warrior energy, I find it more challenging. I also teach about creating your vision. I teach strategy and planning. I've got a whole planning model called the thirds planning model, which helps you to just have loads of clarity and get more done. Then I also teach about money making attitude, that we're all money makers, even though sometimes our dad will tell us we're not. And then I teach lots of productivity and consistency hacks. So how to be more productive and take less time doing, procrastinating. And the community of people in there is amazing. So good. Like the people in there are just the best. We had a meet up in Bristol in September and it was better than my wedding and my hen do. Like it was so much fun. It was so good. But yeah, they're amazing, amazing bunch. But I've got the doors are open till the end of the month, and it's 14 days free trial, so people could come in. We had somebody join for the free trial last week. And I didn't know if she was going to sign up because you just never know if they're going to sign up. But for this particular woman, I was like, oh, I'm not sure if it's for her. But then she joined. We've got a Bank the Wins WhatsApp group. So people just bank all of their little wins and their big wins. So they feel rich in the wins before the money comes in. And she got so much from just that in 3 days that she had to join. Just
Awesome.
that. And I was like, whoa. That's cool. So yeah,
Well, it
that's
sounds amazing, and your energy is infectious.
oh,
You
thank
know, you
you.
need to give yourself a pat on the back that they're there to be supported and uplifted by you, and it sounds incredible. So I'll put a link in the show notes. Where can people connect with you? Hook up. It sounds like going on a date.
I can look
Where
up
can
if
they
they want.
find you?
I am Claire Hill, literally everywhere. So
Love it.
search I am Claire Hill or Claire Hill, and I will pop up.
There you go. Thank you. That was just a pleasure. I've had like the best morning ever. Double
It's been cool,
podcast
isn't it?
through.
Yeah, it's been really, really cool. I've loved it. My face aches a bit from smiling. Love
Yeah,
it.
me too. That's a good sign. Thank
It
you
is.
so much. Thank you so much.
You're welcome, Bo. Thank you.